Vernal Equinox meeting of the Pine-Richland School Board. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. Williams.
Dr. Banyas?
Here.
Mrs. Dawson?
Here.
Mr. Sundo?
Here.
Mr. Kashani? Mr. DiTullio?
Here.
Ms. Goebel?
Here.
Ms. Johnston?
Here.
Mr. Lyons?
Here.
Mr. Stegman?
Here.
Thank you.
Brief President's statement. We had a Staff Services and Finance meeting preceding this one. Mr. Sundo will give updates on that later in the meeting. Moving on to item 1.02, recognition of visitors. Anyone wishing to approach the board, please do so. Please limit your comments to about 3 minutes. Give us your name, your address, and where you're from.
Was there ever mention made at any meeting of the executive session from the 6th? Because they're supposed to be announced. We made it before the last. Okay.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Is this on?
Yes.
Okay. My name is James Mahood. I'm a resident at 1113 Wood Hill Drive. Is it working?
Yes.
In Gibsonia.
Much better, thanks. Thank you.
Okay. And I don't have a statement or anything like that. I have some questions. I'd like to know what the status of the Ivanko versus the district case is and what the board's intentions are. And I'd like to know what the costs have been in the defense. And I'd like to know what the projected expenses are going to be in the defense, and sort of where are we on this case now that the court has ruled.
We don't generally engage in dialogue, sir. Right now, that matter is still under litigation. That is still an executive session matter. We don't yet have that information to give yet.
Well, I don't consider it to be dialogue. I'm a taxpayer, I'm a resident of the district, and I'd like to know what we're doing here. And let me just ask this question. How much has been spent by the district to date on this litigation?
I don't know that anyone would have that answer for you right now, sir.
Who would?
Right now, no one. It would take some time to review attorney fee billings and that sort of thing. It's not the kind.
How much has the district paid to date?
Again, I don't think anyone could answer that question accurately right now. It would require some compilation.
Has the
review.
district made a decision as to what will be done with this litigation?
With
What are you going to do? Are you going to continue this lawsuit?
that matter is still under consideration by the school board, and as Dr. Banya said, it's not an appropriate topic for discussion in this forum.
When and where is it a proper topic of discussion for a taxpayer to hear about this?
Well, this forum here, pursuant to the Sunshine Law, is generally a forum for the board to receive input and commentary from the citizenry. It is
This
not,
is input. I'm asking a question.
No.
I'm asking for an answer.
I understand that, sir, but asking a question is not giving input. It's asking a question, and that's not the function of public time at a legislative.
When is it the function for me to ask this question?
Well, when the board comes to appropriate levels of decision-making, many of them take place in the public environment, and people know about them when they're made and done in a public manner. But,
That doesn't answer my question.
well, sir, because there is no answer to your question right now.
Don't you see that as a problem?
No, I don't. I mean, I've been involved in a lot of litigation with a lot of school districts and municipalities over decades. And I've been the one, perhaps in the unfortunate position of answering for many school boards.
I'm not, I can barely read your sign, sir.
I'm the solicitor. I'm legal counsel for the school district.
Okay, are you answering for the board or as the solicitor
I'm
for the board?
answering as solicitor for the district. And the
Okay,
client,
who answers for the district?
in with respect to legal matters, typically I do. And as I've said before I was interrupted, I have often been the person who has had to explain awkwardly at public meetings that, first, this is not a forum for always inquiry or interrogation or to insist upon answers from the school board, nor is it an appropriate venue.
When
Please
is
let
the
me finish,
appro-
sir. Nor is it an appropriate venue or forum to discuss anything pertaining to ongoing litigation.
Okay. When is it an appropriate time for a citizen to come here and ask a question and get an answer as to what the board is intending and how much money the board intends to spend on this litigation?
There are certain questions, if you were to direct them in writing to the district, certain questions could be answered by way of could be made by way of a right to know request. Other questions would simply be deferred as not being the proper subjects of inquiry because of their confidential strategic nature.
Well, I have a couple problems with that answer. First of all, my question was when. Second is, you're talking about strategic. I'm a citizen. I'd like to know when I can ask that question and get an answer.
Well, it can't be answered until the board makes the decision.
Can you tell me when, please?
No, I do not have a date for you, sir.
Can somebody on this board tell me when?
I don't think that's possible to do right now.
And you're the only person on this panel who is, and you're not a member of the board, you're the employee of the board, you're the attorney for the board, and I'd like to know, no one's going to answer my question when. Is that correct?
Sir, I don't know what other members of the board might like to do. You're asking a question which goes to the heart of my engagement by the school district as counsel.
Okay, if
answering
someone
it
will
best
just
I
tell
can.
me you're not going to answer the question when,
No, I'm
Say-
not going to answer it because I
and
don't
no
know
one on
an
this
answer.
board is going to answer it.
I don't think there is an answer.
The answer is no answer, and you refuse to answer.
No, the answer is there is no answer. It's litigation that's subject to ongoing deliberation for this board. We welcome your input, and you should.
Just not now.
No, we welcome your input now and always, and all our members of the community. What Mr. Clare is trying to say is, you can and should do your input.
I'm
But
aware.
That doesn't mean that we have a decision or an answer to those concerns.
I'm aware of other boards, school boards in this state that have paid damages in excess of $1 million because people's 1983 rights have been violated. The federal court in this district has held that that is what you have done. Who's going to pay that bill?
So
We have a right to know that.
Sir, the questions are premature, is what we're saying. Your questions are premature.
You're going to go through a trial, and you're going to spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That may or may not be true. It's not something that anybody can comment on right now. That's the nature of litigation. It's
And
conducted in a
no one can tell me
confidential
when I can come back and find out.
When the answers to your questions are available, they will be widely known.
In what means? How am I supposed to know that?
Well, there's a public record at the docket of the federal court, which contains the formal filings of the district, and most of the proceedings, when they come to that public level, are the subject of immediate and widespread public scrutiny and knowledge.
That is after the fact. That is after you have made a decision and committed this district and the taxpayers to expenses. When can we have input as to the next point of decision? When can we be heard about this?
I think the board's prepared to hear your statements, your beliefs, your recommendations.
I'm
That's
asking
complete-
questions. I'm not
But
making...
That's what the distinction I've tried to press upon you, is that asking questions is not the function of this type of meeting. You can give your opinions, you can give your preferences, be they politically based, policy based, socially based, legally based, medically based, anything. But it's not something where the board's going to respond to a question at this point.
And no one will tell me when that point in time is. I'm supposed to...
We're repeating ourselves now.
That's correct,
We're repeating
because I'm not
ourselves.
getting an answer. You're telling me to chase the federal docket?
No, sir, not at all. And I'm not going to be twisted any further on this. The answer, as Mr. Lyon articulated, was there is no answer to your question as phrased now.
Okay.
And
As a taxpayer, excuse me, as a taxpayer, that is highly objectionable. The fact that I come to a public meeting to ask questions of this board that is elected to make decisions that affect the taxpayers of this district, and I ask a question and I'm told you can't answer it, you won't answer it, and you won't tell me when specifically I can get an answer.
because it's a matter of litigation. This is not an uncommon position for public entities in this sort of circumstance? I've had to answer this question a lot of times in decades of representing public entities. Litigation and its strategies are not discussed in a public forum.
Not asking you about strategy. I'm asking you how much you've spent. You don't answer that fact question.
I don't know the answer to that right now.
Okay, who knows and who can tell me?
No one knows
No
the
one
answer
knows.
right now. It would require inquiry into records and compilation.
Okay, when can I be told that specific fact?
If you would direct that inquiry to the school district through an appropriate right-to-know request, an answer can be assembled from the public records of the school district, and it will do so in accordance with the law.
And the public records of the school district do not include the amount that the solicitor has billed to date on this case. Is that correct?
Surely they do.
The public records.
Publicly, not public right now, but publicly accessible records through the Right to Know Act. Invoices and that sort of thing are readily available under the Right to Know Act, just like invoices for buses or anything.
Can you tell me whether the district has retained other counsel to assist in the defense of this action?
Yes, but that's a matter of public record as well, because it's being represented in the litigation by the firm of Melo, Brungo, and Melo, as retained by the district's liability insurer.
At cost to the district?
At some cost to the district pursuant to the terms of the policy.
I find this highly unsatisfactory. This is entirely meaningless to a taxpayer. It is entirely frustrating. And, you know, I hope you folks understand how much you're spending.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My name is Scott Gagliardi. I'm from Meridian Road. I just wanted to voice my support of the school board's position with regard to facility use and our children's privacy rights. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Name is Dean Allen. Live in Orchard Park on Applewood Drive. Just want to share these viewpoints with you. Believe that was something that's acceptable for this forum. So in May of 2016, the Obama administration announced a new directive requiring every public school in the country to allow transgender students to use whichever bathroom or locker room matched their preferred gender identity. In February 2017, the Trump administration correctly, or shall I say constitutionally corrected the maneuver to be determined by state and local governments. Without any thoughtful debate or discussion of facts, the LGBTQ community response is to label anything other than their own view as an attack. In the bigger picture, this argument isn't about transgenderism at all. It's entirely political and involves the end of certainty. Gender fluidity is a cultural construct with a political objective to destroy certainty. The goal is to remove objective reality from observations, rationality, and common sense. Once certainty is eliminated within a population of people, they can literally construct their own reality through political correctness, intimidation, shaming, force, propaganda, or whatever means necessary. If we as a society remove the line between reality and delusion, how can we draw any new lines when right and wrong have been removed from the science? Moving from politics to science, what constitutes male and female? Is it physical? Is it mental? Is it determined by the individual? What is the biological anchor determining sex? How do we know if someone is male or female? Is there some absolute standard that qualifies one as male or female other than what they say? The implications are profound. Fact is, many of society's institutions function on a sex-segregated basis. Women's colleges, amateur and professional sports, prisons, WBE benefits, and etc. Furthermore, there are no scientists who will agree that one can determine their own sex. Transgenderism has been identified by psychologists as gender dysphoria. The transgendered person's disorder is in the person's assumption that they are different than the physical reality of their body, their maleness or femaleness as assigned by nature. It is a disorder similar to a dangerously thin person suffering anorexia who looks in the mirror and thinks they are overweight. The idea that sex or gender are malleable is false. No one is denying humanity to transgender persons. This is simply stating that they are not the sex which they claim to be. They are still human beings with an issue we all wish them well in dealing with in whatever way they see fit. However, dictating to the other 99% plus that we are supposed to pretend that men are women and women are men is a problem. Our answer is no. We are not going to modify basic biology because it threatens the subjective sense of what you are. Similar examples include age, race, weight, and even the idea of being an animal instead of human. Just because some things can be done legally doesn't mean they're correct biologically. This is not a matter of open-mindedness. The idea behind the transgender movement is that all their problems will go away if everyone pretends they are the sex to which they claim membership. The idea that we would sacrifice society's proper definition of sex because of a very, very small percentage of persons have a pre-existing condition that makes them more susceptible to criticism is not a viable solution. We cannot sacrifice truth because some people are going to suffer because of truth. I don't know about you, but I find it very troubling that current generations of children have been conditioned to accept certain behaviors as normal when in fact they are clearly violations of their own privacy and security that their maturity fails to recognize. Today's Hollywood, liberal media, and MTV culture stimulus preys upon their pliable emotions, conditioning them to believe that LGBTQ as common as traditional marriage. Preying upon the impressionable minds of children to advance a political agenda, giving them the idea they can choose their gender, is both disturbing and nefarious. Policymakers and the media are doing no favors to either the public or transgendered by treating their confusion as a right in need of defending, rather than as a mental disorder that deserves understanding, treatment, and prevention. So last part, let's discuss reality, because reality is the root of the problem across the nation at this point in time. Reality is not a social construct. You cannot opt out of reality. The reality is that no one is preventing the rights of anyone to use restrooms, no one is suppressing equality, and no one believes transgenders are monsters. The reality is that schools are not asking for guidance on transgender bathroom policies. These policies are being forced upon them by special interest groups with political agendas and threats of lawsuits. The reality is gender is not fluid. It's biologically fixed to male and female. Reality is that no one has a problem with alternative lifestyles until they are pushed by special interest groups demanding that 99.7% of the population capitulate with their reality. The reality is that special interest groups, a very small minority of the population, less than 0.5%, wishes to define everyone's reality. They want everyone to pretend to go along with their version of reality, because when reality and their ideology clash, it's reality that must be changed. The reality that these special interest groups have been conditioning everyone to believe their reality, their behavior, and their choices are not only normal, but discriminated against. So a protected class with special privileges must be created and protected. What are the consequences to organized society once everyone's reality is defined by special interest groups? A predictable reality for restroom use is this: a glance, a smirk, a gesture will set off a complaint, and judgment will pass in favor of the protected class, because the new policy is designed to protect transgenders, where biologically correct students are at fault simply by the nature of the new policy, and those who are more equal than
Sir,
others.
please summarize your statements.
This is a summary. I'm almost done.
Okay.
There's only a couple more here.
Okay.
The reality is laws and policies aren't made to protect feelings. Laws and policies are made to protect reality. The reality is once you bend reality with some law or policy to satisfy any special interest group, you've only created a stepping stone for the next demand. I'm guessing that reality might include joining a sports team of the biologically opposite sex. If you've been watching news, this is already going on. The reality is everyone is entitled to privacy and security of biological proper restrooms. The reality is the solution is already here. Boys, girls, and unisex facilities already exist inside the school. Common sense prescribes males use the men's restroom, females use the women's restrooms, and anyone uncomfortable with either arrangement simply uses the unisex restrooms. Transgenders are not biologically different. They have chosen to be different. Their choice is easily accommodated by unisex bathrooms, private facilities completely free with privacy and security risks. I apologize to anyone who's offended by reality, and for the record, I identify with reality, as I'm certain most everyone else does too.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
In the future, please try to limit your comments to about 3 minutes.
Mine should be 3 minutes. My name's Ron Mackey. I live on Milton Drive. I have an issue with the bus company. This has been going on pretty much 3/4 of the year. Twice now my kid was left without being picked up in the morning. And I'm just curious who's going to pay for my wife's gas money to take him to school in the morning. If you have an answer for me, please. Or where do I go with this? Because this is ridiculous.
Again, we don't give answers here, but someone from administration should get back to you.
Because when I called the school and this bus company, they asked me if I knew anybody that wants to work for them. That's kind of ridiculous.
Thank you for your input, sir.
Dan Kerr, Blossom Drive, Gibsonia. I'll make mine pretty brief. I have a lot here, but I think I could summarize it. In preparing for tonight, I went back to the history, to the what I feel is the oldest, if not the oldest book, the most read book in the history of man, the Bible. Just in summary, in the beginning in Genesis, man created male and female. And he created them to come together, male and female, and to be fruitful and multiply. Nowhere in the Bible is it ever mentioned a man can change to a woman whenever he feels like it, or a woman can change to a man whenever they feel like it. There's no question. He created two, male and female. As humans here on earth, as God's children, we're to protect the weak, the needy, the helpless, and our children while we're here on earth. To allow it instances where it's unsafe for children, regardless of the situation, is against what we're here to be. We're here to be protectors of our children. Whether they're born or unborn, we're to protect them. And allowing males to use female women's bathrooms or vice versa is not protecting our children. The transgenders aren't necessarily the problem, even though we're not sure because we don't know what their preference is, male or female in each whatever case. But it opens the door to all the predators of the world who want to harm our children. So the school board, I implore you to stick with your decision, regardless of what judges rule, regardless of what politically correct groups want. People with money want to influence things. Do you want to answer to them now, or do you want to answer to your Lord when you're called home? Did you protect my children? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I do assure you I'll be brief. My name is Craig Russell. I live at 206 Logan Road, and I'd like to start by thanking those on the board who have voted to support the resolution that was put before the board by Mr. DiTullio. I also understand there may be some division on the board, and to those of you who are undecided, I would simply say that as I've said to this board in the past, I'm not interested in making any kind of referendum about whether transgenderism is a good or a bad thing. I think that each person has to conduct themselves and deal with the issues that they're confronted with. And I'd summarize it, I guess I'm a live and let live kind of person. However, I feel compelled to come up here and speak to you again because I think that it is critically important for each of you to remember that when you're talking about protecting rights and you're talking about protecting interests, there's a presumption that lies at the heart of our Constitution. It's the social contract. And it's fundamentally the tacit agreement that we all make in society to be governed, to be ruled by law. And we enter into that social contract with the expectation that each of us is being protected by the rights that the law affords for us. And those laws are tied, and those rights are tied to God and nature, however you want to define that. But the other side of that is that each of us agrees that we're going to conduct our lives in a way that's the least invasive, the least intrusive on other people's rights. And I have to voice a fair amount of frustration with the transgender side of this issue, simply because, as it's been articulated by members of the board and members of the community, the prism through which this issue is being filtered appears to only have one direction, and that is if you don't endorse, embrace, completely accommodate the transgender position on bathroom usage, well then you've damaged them, you've hindered their ability to conduct their lives, and recognizing that there must be a level of fragility that goes along with being confronted with this issue, I still have to say that there has to be some reasonableness that gets applied on both sides of this issue. And is it reasonable, if I'm an agoraphobe, if I'm afraid of the outside world and I muster up the courage to leave my house one day, is it reasonable for me to assume the rest of the world needs to change and accommodate so that I'm not confronted with something that makes me uncomfortable? Or is it up to me, with help, with whatever means that I need to find, that I achieve some level of coping mechanism that allows me to be a productive member of society? It's a case of the tail wagging the dog. And this isn't a function of a school board or a school district that's unwilling to provide reasonable accommodation. This is being confronted with a position that says reasonable accommodation is unreasonable. It's not enough. It has to be completely inclusive, completely accommodating, potentially to the detriment of a vast majority of the student body. So I understand that litigation is ongoing. I understand that the injunctive relief that was sought has been partially granted. It's been granted on one of the grounds. I would urge you to stay the course. You have the support of the community. And I just appreciate your time and thank you for all your efforts.
Thanks, sir. Anybody else wish to approach the board? Thank you all for speaking. I do want to remind you all that this is an election year. You have a unique opportunity to have your voice heard this year. Item 1.03, student and staff recognition. Ms. Hathorn.
Thank you. We're going to start with staff recognition first. Director of Finance and Operational Services, Dana Kirk, has been granted a renewal of her status as a Pennsylvania registered school business administrator for 4 years. And she didn't know I was going to mention this. To earn renewal, a school business official must meet high personal, ethical, and professional standards established for the registration program. As you know, Ms. Kirk has been an integral part of our district since 2003, so congratulations. Now moving on to student recognition, several Pine-Richland High School students qualified for the Pennsylvania High School Speech League state competition this month. They include seniors Rachel Weinberg, Amanda Ebner, sophomore Mahika Sampat, juniors Molly McCarthy, Aslyn Tobin, Benjamin Martin, Chelsea Carver, and Kayla Julio. So congratulations to those students. Several Pine-Richland High School students earned Western Pennsylvania Regional Scholastic Art and Writing Competition Awards. They competed against 43 schools, and all more than 30 Pine-Richland High School students earned, get this, nearly 100 awards. This year, senior Kayla Duffy earned a National Gold and National Silver Award. Juniors Nikki Novick and Jack Martin also earned National Silver Key Awards, so that's a big honor. Also, junior Chelsea Carver earned a National Gold Award in the journalism category. I think this was the first year we earned that many national awards, so congratulations, not only to the students but the teachers as well. Senior Savannah Knoll is being named one of only 10 Nordenberg scholars. The University of Pittsburgh chooses select seniors who receive full tuition, 3 years of paid internship and study abroad opportunities. That's not bad. This is the third year in a row Pine-Richland High School senior was chosen for this award, so congratulations. Also, 3 students earning additional recognition in the National Merit Award Scholar Program. Seniors Richard Kwan, Joshua Pantanowitz, and Kendall Palmerloo were now named finalists in the program. As you may remember, they were named semifinalists earlier this year. Also, 8th grader Sam Stella will compete in the 2017 Pennsylvania National Geographic Bee in Harrisburg. Sam took an exam that qualified him for the state one. Earlier this year, he earned the middle school geographic bee championship, so congratulations. Also, the district would like to congratulate all athletes who qualified for the PIAAs, including divers Austin Shaw, Maddie Hewitt, swimmer Ryan Schonblackler, and wrestler Hunter Baxter. And also, of course, the Pine-Richland High School boys basketball team, who will play Carlisle tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. in Altoona. Also, please note Hunter Baxter also earned a spot on the WPIAL All-Star team, and this is the 40th year that program has been put in place. Congratulations to the hundreds of students who participated in the high school musical the past 2 weekends. They put on a stellar performance of Joseph in the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, but the talent doesn't stop there, so you can get ready for the Pine-Richland Middle School is preparing for the Lion King Jr., which will be staged at 7 p.m. March 30th, 31st, and 2 and 7 p.m. on April 1st, so a lot to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hathorn. Item 1.04, correspondence. Ms. Williams.
Mr. Charles DeLisio emailed the board regarding Wexford Elementary School, and Mr. and Mrs. Dan Kerr emailed the board regarding resolution number 2.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Item 1.05, minutes for approval. Recommended action, motion to approve the meeting minutes as attached. The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 2.01, strategic plan, building and grounds, project update. Ms. Kirk.
Sure. I'm just going to give kind of a brief overall statement of some of the projects that are currently on the pipeline. The first item listed is new residential development. You may or may not know that there is a residential development that is going in across from the high school, the Laurel Grove development. We have been working through the timeline with the developers, and there will be some work that will be done not only to Warrendale Road to increase kind of the traffic area going across to provide a turning lane into the development. But throughout the spring, there will be some areas of the land where they'll be clearing off the trees and such. Throughout the summer, there will be some periods of time where they will be doing some sanitary sewer work and some blasting of some stone and some rock on that property. Again, we're going to work through that with the building principals and the students, if they're still here in school at the time. Throughout the summer, again, they're going to continue to do some work there on Warrendale Road with the signal and the traffic patterns. Moving into possibly October and November as the first construction on some of the model homes. The next item on the agenda would be the Eden Hall Upper Elementary parking lot expansion. We have had that on the agenda for quite some time. We had approved EBH to do the work. They have developed the specifications and they made some changes to some stormwater drainage. Most of those drawings have been submitted to the township and they're being reviewed currently by Richland Township. Once everything is fully approved, then we will have a bid timeline and then we'll be able to work through that process with you to let you know when it will be advertised and when the board will be able to review the tabulation from the bids received and when the work will be awarded. The detention pond work we've kind of talked about over the last couple of weeks. There are some detention ponds that are over there also for some rainwater, stormwater. This has been reviewed by the township and they do have some recommendations which they've provided to our maintenance department. Our internal staff will be doing that work and we may or may not have to bring in a load of stone just for some of the drainage purposes. Otherwise, we'll be able to comply with the township timelines in order to do that work. Architectural services, you'll see there's some paving and resurfacing, the building and athletic projects. Under the buildings and grounds section of your agenda tonight, there are some items on there. They're not for a vote, they're just for information and discussion. We would be looking for a vote next month on those. In the capital funding plan, this kind of ties back to what we have for architectural services. The plan has not been changed in the last month, so what we discussed at the February finance meeting and very briefly tonight at the finance meeting would be specifically the projects for next fiscal year. One of the areas in there are some small paving projects at several of the buildings. So we've kind of looked at pulling those together, and again, the recommendation for architectural services is kind of grouping all of those projects together. We'd be looking at VEBH for that, and they'll be able to kind of coordinate some of that work with Eden Hall as well. For the building and athletic projects, you may remember some of the largest items listed on the capital funding plan would be some expansion over at the stadium to accommodate locker rooms and team space in the visitor section. The building piece of that would be increasing the security at the middle school in terms of the entrance and the vestibule. So all of that is kind of roped together, and we are looking at a recommendation for Eccles Architecture for that as well. And again, in terms of donations, we have some future donations that I believe are under the student services section, and we have reviewed those. There are a few more that might be coming down the pike, but we have reviewed those as administrative team and have worked through the maintenance department with those as well.
Any questions for Ms. Kirk? Thank you very much, Ms. Kirk. And congratulations again. Finance, Mr. Sundo.
Item 3.01, motion to approve the financial reports dated March 20th, 2017, and accounts payable dated March 20th, 2017 in the amount of $767,309.18, and paid accounts for February and March in the amount of $5,758,802.14 as listed.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.02, motion to approve the budget transfers in the amount of $15,883.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.03, motion to authorize the solicitor to initiate real estate assessment appeals of all non-newly constructed properties within the Township of Pine and Richland Township transferred in 2016, where the taxes generated on the difference between the selling price and assessed value would exceed $1,000.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Clare, could you just educate us a little bit on this process?
What's done by our firm for our clients and for many other school districts throughout the county, I don't think there are any that don't do it. What they do is we examine all of the sales transactions in the prior year, that would be 2016, and we look at what assessments have been placed on them by the county for 2017. Sometimes that assessment is just a carryover of an old number with a new owner designated. We examine what we call the gap, the delta between, what the value is on the books down there and what the sales price is. I mean, if a property sells for $250,000 and it's given a value of $100,000 by the county, that's wrong. And by correcting that, the district is able to offset. You can look at what gains some revenue on that parcel or parcels, but that offsets the need for overall tax increases on the entire tax base. And so we've been doing that for 20 years at least, here and elsewhere. It's an equalizing sort of process. Certainly people who buy properties and that are overassessed relative to their sale price. And they buy a property for $150 and it's assessed at $210. By all means, those people should and generally do go downtown to have that number reduced. So this is just a countervailing action to bring it into balance.
Would you initiate an appeal in such an event? When someone just bought the house for $150,000?
No, we don't. Sort of be bizarre for us to file an appeal to lower an assessment, but I assure you, those people find out about it and take care of themselves.
No, but I mean,
we don't oppose those.
I guess my point was that if somebody buys a house for $150,000, it's assessed at $210, and they appeal it. And do you contest that appeal?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean,
that was my point.
For one, if they're relatively low numbers, the examples I used in the 100 and 200 range, they get attention appropriate to their scale.
Right.
But even if that happens at a larger, if we're not participating, I'll tell you practically what happens. We might have somebody from our office at the Board of Property Assessment handling any number of large-scale cases, and when the hearing examiners say, this is a Pine-Richland case, they come out in the hall and they get us because they want, and we do the same thing. If the deed appears to be an arm's length deed and a fair transaction, well, that's a good reflection of value, and we often endorse a reduction.
Thank you, sir.
Just being the new guy here, this puts me in a weird position. Having been victim of this prior to being a board member, you're now asking me to vote against my constituents who will suffer from this.
Well,
why is this a board? I'm just curious why this is a school board function, not Pine-Richland, but in the county. Why?
Because you're doing it on behalf of those who would otherwise pay larger taxes.
You weren't paying your fair share.
The county can't get it right. That's the bottom line. The county can't get it right.
Because you have constituents on both sides of the issue.
Somebody has to
Not
stop.
our fault.
I mean, that makes sense, right? So we have a certain pool of real estate value to tap
I
into
get
tax.
it. I begrudgingly paid it, but in the end, it's the right thing to do. But here now, as a representative of my constituents, I must.
I hear from my constituents the opposite. I always hear, do that at least that much, and are you doing it strictly, and possibly should that number be lower, is what I typically hear more of. Yeah. So, because they know there's there's another side of that coin. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you, of course, are free to vote either way, Mr. Stegman.
This is one of those greater good things.
Any further discussion on item 3.03? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.04, motion to approve the 2017-2018 AIU Program of Services budget as attached.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.05, motion to approve an engagement letter with Dinsmore and Scholl LLP for bond counsel services as attached.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.06, motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the incurring of non-electoral debt to refund all or a portion of the school district's general obligation notes refunding series of 2007 as presented to the board.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion.
I'll be filing an abstention,
Sorry.
an ethics abstention, as me or my employer may derive some economic benefit from this motion.
Thank you, Mr. Lyons. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Motion passes.
Item 3.07, motion to approve Hozak, Speck, Mutzel, and Wood LLP to provide independent audit services for the years ended June 30th, 2017 at a cost of $23,000, June 30th, 2018 at a cost of $23,500, and June 30th, 2019 at a cost of $24,000 as per their proposal dated February 15th, 2017, and in accordance with federal, state, and local compliance requirements as applicable.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.08, motion to approve the engagement letter from Echo Financial Products LLC in the amount of $7,500 to prepare derivative valuations and fair value services required by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.09 is an informational item. The Finance and Staff Services Committees met prior to this meeting. We received a budget update from Dana and also a capital projects update, and we reviewed some selected community policies. I would like to point out that the next Finance Committee meeting is on April 17th, which is not an evening that we have a school board meeting. It will begin at 6. And we also, if needed, have a meeting on May 15th prior to the voting meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Sundo. We always leave that April 17th meeting. We try to have that on a Wednesday so that we have open-ended discussion for the board and for the public on the budget. So we invite you to participate if you are so inclined. Academic achievement, Ms. Dawson.
Well, good evening. Item 4.01, we have some exciting information for you, and I will let Dr. Pasquinelli steal my thunder.
Thank you, Mrs. Dawson. 4.01 is for board consideration. This would be at the combined April meeting, so this is just an informational item for tonight. As you know, we already approved the program of studies for our secondary campus, 7 through 12. So we're bringing forward the program of studies for our elementary schools and Eden Hall for your review. So we provided you with both a red line copy and a clean copy of the revisions for the 17-18 school year. Not too many revisions, some around some content area descriptions that were provided for the K-3 schools. We did work to further describe some of the interventions that are available to students, both those Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions we've talked about through our multi-tiered system of support. We've shared that with community and board in the past, so there's some more detail in there for community members. And then we've worked to provide more information on who to contact if you have questions, concerns, school-related concerns, whether that's curricular-related or anything else. That's embedded into our program of studies as well. So it's there for your review, any questions that you have for me, and then for your approval on April 10th.
Any questions for Dr. Pasquinelli? Thank you.
Item 4.02 is, again, information And a presentation.
Yes. So this is a 28-slide presentation, and we will be jumping around a little bit. I know that disappoints many of you, but I would just want to highlight some of the key aspects of where we are with our resource review. Again, this board has been extremely supportive of us. We work to update our curriculum, and with that, identify areas of need for curricular resources, those resources that are most tightly aligned to our written curriculum. We're looking for hybrid-type resources, hybrid meaning some traditional textbook that we know students want to touch, turn pages, and some non-traditional with online resources that give us that hybrid approach to learning, flexibility to getting at those learning goals that we've established for students. So that's the concept around why we're asking for board approval every year for additional resources coming into our school district. So I've shared this in the past. This is a key slide about where we start the process, and that's the link to our written curriculum. Those resources that are most tightly aligned, that's what we're looking forward to bring to the board and to the community for review. So where we are with this process, at the beginning of the year, we talked about looking at mathematics resources for grades K through 8, including algebra, geometry. We've talked about secondary resources for social studies starting in grade 6 and including AP resources in psychology and AP government. And we talked about ELA resources in grades 10 through 12 that continues that series that we've updated over the last couple of years for ELA. At this point, we are ready to bring 3 resources forward for our social studies 6 through 8 and 3 resources forward for our mathematics 6 through 8. We are pushing our ELA 10 to 12 and K to 5 math into next school year just because we feel like we need additional time to really vet those resources out. So you've seen this presentation. I'm going to pause to the places that are new. This is an important slide because next week we will be placing those resources on display. Again, those are our top 3 for 6 to 8 social studies and 6 to 8 mathematics. And we invite community members to come out and share their feedback for those resources. We've added the student voice component to this as well as part of our evaluation process, so we will be inviting students in to provide feedback. We use all of that information along with our committee work to make our final recommendations, which we will bring forward to you to place these items on a 30-day review in April. So we're getting close to the end of the process for social studies and mathematics 6 through 8. This is our team of committee members. You can see you have administrators and teachers at various buildings to provide us input and recommendations. And if you recall, a couple of weeks ago, we had our social studies team out here and gave you the detailed information of why we selected the ones that we did for social studies. So if you have time to come out next week, you will see Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, Pearson Education, and McGraw-Hill on display for social studies. Those are our top 3. And you'll see McGraw-Hill and Pearson for AP Government and AP Psychology. Those are our top 2 for social studies. The presentation has the detail of why we lifted those forward. I won't go through those because the team has already done that for you. The last time we talked, we had not completed the second round of evaluations for mathematics. We have done that at this time. So for K to 5, you can see the results. Our top 3 for mathematics K to 5 are listed there. But as I said, we want to take more time doing some site visits and doing some more exploration of those 3 products. So we are going to push that into next school year. We will not be coming forward with a recommendation for K to 5 math for this year. I do have justifications for why those top 3 are here, and they're available for community and board review. I'll take a little more time here because these are our top 3. You can see the 4 that we brought forward for the second round of evaluations. This is 6 to 8 mathematics. The top 3 are McGraw-Hill My Math, Houghton Mifflin Go Math, and Houghton Mifflin Big Ideas. Those are the 3 that will be on display next week. a couple of quick justifications for why those three, those are on these slides. For McGraw-Hill My Math, a couple of things that we've highlighted here that we really liked. Number one, we have those interactive display boards in our secondary classrooms at the middle school. This product provides a lot of wonderful resources for students to get their hands and manipulate as they build their understanding of mathematical concepts. With all of these products, I can't stress it enough, foundational skills are still key. So it's not going away from the need to understand the foundation of mathematics. That has to be solidified early on, and that gives students the room to really think and problem solve and understand where they're going when they see these real-world type problems that these resources are providing them. So we like that. There's a lot of work in McGraw-Hill around developing mathematical vocabulary, which is a key concept for students to understand and be able to describe their thinking and explanations to problems that they've solved. And this resource, we think, would be something that could help our students. This is another product we're going to bring forward next week. This is HMH Go Math. Again, a couple of key things here. You see the personal math trainer. We like that because we see that some students are ready for an extension of challenge, so the trainer can push them to another level. The trainer can also support students that need to rehear and re-see problems in different ways, and that can be done both teacher-directed or independent student by student. So we thought that was a quality resource. You see the gentleman in the bottom right-hand corner. Those are lesson tutorials. So how often do students go home, they understand to a degree a concept in the classroom with some level of teacher support, and they go home and they get stuck? Those tutorials are built into this program, so if I get stuck, I can hear it presented from someone else in a little different way and perhaps help me to move to the next level as I'm working independently, and then follow up with the classroom teacher the next day. So some nice components to this program as well. Some of the things I'm skipping over are consistent. The tight alignment to the curriculum was our starting point, and you'll see those with all three. And Big Ideas is another product we're looking at. It's being sold right now by HMH, but they are separating. So Big Ideas will stand alone by themselves as a company. This is a math-only company, so they're really focused on math content and instructional strategies. And you can see that even as one of their options is they provide instructional support to teachers in tutorials on how you can potentially go at this concept with students. So that's a nice product. A nice link to STEM initiatives with Big Ideas Math. So they put students in different scenarios, and they help them to see that connection between mathematics and other content areas. And that's something we've been talking about across this district. So again, those three math products will be available for community to review. Just wanted to again share with you our team of teachers and administrators that work together to look at the 10 to 12 ELA products. We're just not in a position right now to bring those forward. We feel like we need more work around both the direction we're going with those 10 to 12 products and the alignment to the curriculum. So that's going to move into next school year. And our key dates. So this is March 20th, the week of March 27th. Actually, Rachel will probably have out sometime tomorrow an invitation to the community to come out. All the items will be on display all of next week. And then on April 10th, I will have our recommendation for our final product for social studies and our final product for mathematics for that 30-day display that will go on, that will start April 11th through early May, and then we would be bringing a final recommendation for purchase to the board on May 15th.
Doctor, you please provide a little bit of clarity in discussing the hybrid philosophy of technology and traditional. Are there any instances where technology is displacing the book, or is the curriculum based on the book and then enhanced with technology?
In some, what we're finding, some school districts, that's the case. They are selecting kind of a technology only, a one-to-one. So there is, with all of these products, you can purchase just textbooks, all online, or a hybrid of both. Again, we still feel strongly that having a textbook for student is appropriate. In some place, it may just be a class set, but the importance of a traditional textbook is there. Online provides some additional supplemental resources to support the textbook, so it does give you some different things. That tutorial is an example of what I'm talking about. If you just have the textbook and you get stuck, you just have the textbook. If you have the textbook plus the online, it can take you in some different directions and to provide you some more support. So we see the combination of two of them working for kids.
So in most, if not all of our cases, there's at least a book available to each student in the classroom?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Dr. Pasquinelli?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 4.03 is a friendly reminder of the next scheduled Academic Achievement Committee meeting. It's a joint session with Staff Services, April 10th at 6 p.m. I hope that you all attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dawson. Buildings.
Just to add to that real quickly, we made it through several policies, so we'll pick up with 915 boosters, parent organizations.
Buildings and Grounds, Mr. DiTullio.
Item 5.01 is for action, a motion to approve the replacement and installation of the gas burner at the Richland Elementary by Combustion Services Equipment through the CoStars program as attached, and it's about $28,500.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 5.02 through 5.04 are all information items. 5.02 is for board consideration at the combined April meeting, a motion to authorize continued participation of the Pine-Richland School District in the Western Pennsylvania Electric Consortium for the purchase of electricity through direct energy only if the price is at or below our current price, and this just extends our agreement for 24 months. Any administrative comment on that? Nope.
No, at this time, again, they're still looking at what the pricing is, and if they're able to reach that savings, then we would be able to move forward. This is the same consortium through the AIU that we've used in the past.
Item 5.03, again, information for board consideration at the upcoming combined meeting in April. A motion to approve VEBH Architects for professional services for the paving and resurfacing projects at a cost not to exceed $10,887 for professional services, and to authorize advertisements for bids at a cost of $800 for printing and advertising, and that is for the repaving projects. Any other information on that? No? Okay.
Not sure if anyone has any questions, but there is a cost analysis that was attached for your information that just shows the different projects that we were looking for. If you have any questions on either this one or the next one, please feel free to contact me at any time prior to the April meeting.
And item 5.04 is also information for board consideration at the April meeting. A motion to approve the Eccles architecture for the engineering and professional services for the athletic facility improvements in the middle school vestibule at a cost not to exceed $64,000, and to authorize advertisement for bids. And this is, I believe, the engineering for the expansion on the concession area,
Yes.
as well as the middle school vestibule, correct?
Correct.
Yep. And this is a reduction from the original estimate, correct?
In terms of
Architecture fees.
It's around kind of what we thought. It is
Okay.
lower than the other proposal that we received.
Okay. So those will be for consideration at the combined April meeting.
Just a comment for this subject matter. Looking at the information provided about the pending residential development across the street, and specifically the easement, looking at that overhead view, and I'm not an expert in this, but our driveway looks inadequate. In other words, in 3 or 4 years, whenever that community's up and running completely, our entry exit way, that 100 yards where 50 or 70 yards just looks now inadequate to effectively handle the traffic. I guess the only data point I have is football games currently that Friday night, the traffic backup on the red belt, trying to get people in and out for a football game suggests to me that I might not be totally off base. So fairly informational at this point. Do we have any studies or should we? It just looks like a financial liability somewhere down the road.
You're talking outside the district, right? Not our entrance in here, our driveway. You're talking about the road. You're talking our entrance.
Yeah, look at currently the way it's trifurcated in and out. It just, knowing the backups that we currently experience for high traffic events, with that additional residential loading, I'm just wondering if it's going to remain adequate if it's currently adequate.
I don't know if there's been anything done architecturally on our side. I know that the township looked at, originally, that development did not propose their entrance there. They proposed it down a little bit.
Yeah.
The township wanted it directly across for traffic signal. And
right, which makes sense.
so they took that into consideration. I don't know if...
How about our driveway was...
I don't know the extent of it.
In a sense,
The
though.
rate limiting factor may be what's downstream from where they come in, as opposed to the entrance itself. I mean, you could funnel all these people into the entrance, but if they can't get, they're backed up trying to park all those cars, it doesn't really make much difference how big the entrance is. They just can't get in.
In theory, that plan doesn't change the need and what you have to have on the side of our property line. It may even reduce it if you'll have some fraction of kids who may walk that would drive otherwise. So the number of drivers entering the school district won't
And
change. Not that I don't share your concerns.
Between 6:45 and 7:20.
Yeah.
And again, we have a significant number of students who are dropped off by parents at school each day.
So it's FYI.
Any further questions for Ms. Kirk or Mr. DiTullio? Thank you both. Student Services, Ms. Johnston.
Okay. Item 6.01 is a motion to approve the consent agenda for items 6.02 through 6.06 as listed.
Second.
The item has been moved and doubly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I love that. Item 6.07 is a motion to accept in accordance with Board Policy 702, gifts, grants, and donations, and with sincere gratitude, a donation from the Pine-Richland Baseball Boosters Organization of a storage shed with an approximate cost of $6,800. Thank you.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 6.08 is a motion to accept in accordance with Board Policy 702 and with sincere gratitude, a donation from the Pine-Richland Baseball Booster Organization to purchase and install benches and storage within the third base dugout with an approximate cost of $1,400. Thank you.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Thank you for the donation.
Booster fees are going to good use.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 6.09 is going to be for board consideration at the combined April meeting. It will be a motion to approve the updated 2017-18 Pine-Richland Discipline Code as presented.
Any comments?
No, we had a lot of discussion this year. I think
Yeah,
it
we've talked about this many times. So I
was well
offering-
incorporated into the policy.
Yes. We have kept Mr. Kenny busy with this one.
I suspect over the years we might put less verbiage in, but we gave you so much to work with this year. I think you had to put everything in there that you did.
Thank you, Ms. Johnston. Staff Services, Ms. Goebel.
Item 7.01, motion to approve the personnel and supplemental items as attached.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 7.02, motion to approve the attendance and application of Dr. Brian R. Miller, Superintendent, to participate in the Baldridge Board of Examiners training in Gaithersburg, Maryland, from April 25th to the 27th, as described on the attached summary forms.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Any comment, Dr. Mel? No, I appreciate the support. It's a tremendous leadership development, organizational thinking opportunity.
It's an honor for us to have him as a board of examiners. So I wholeheartedly support this motion. Any additional comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
7.03, motion to approve a third and final reading of policy 007, policy manual access.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
7.04, motion to approve the third and final reading of policy 810.2, transportation, video/audio recording. Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
7.05, motion to approve a first reading of community policies 900 batch as listed below.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And item 7.0 is a discussion item, food services. I don't know if anyone has anything to say or is tentatively scheduled to bring the policy back for discussion on April 10th, followed by the first reading at the May planning meeting.
Yeah, this has been on its way. It is now here. Just again for tonight, for information, really to get a little bit of feedback. Mrs. Kirk can describe the process more. There's a need to gather even more additional feedback on this proposed policy. We'd also like to identify tonight a member of the board or a couple members of the board who would like to be engaged in our Food Service Advisory and Wellness Committee, which is a required component of this, to provide feedback. So anything to add to that, Mrs. Kirk?
Policy 808, when you look at the red line version, the policy for food service of 808, we did just recently revise this one, so there's not an enormous amount of changes to it. The largest piece of it includes just kind of including the current pricing guidelines, basically, and the negative or low balance guidelines in an administrative regulation. So when you're looking at the two red line policies, again, 808 does not have an enormous amount of changes. This one doesn't require by law the input of the full committee. However, the next one, which is policy 246 of student wellness, that one does require input from not only a committee of some of our teachers, administrators, again, school board members, parents, students. So what we've done is we've gathered a number of different ways of feedback currently, and then we will continue with Food Service Advisory and Wellness Committee meetings in March and again in May. So Policy 246 has a lot of red line changes in it, but one of the things you may notice, just because of how board docs kind of functions, some of the language that we had to redline in that area and then kind of list again in green, some of it was already in our current existing policy, but it had to move into different locations. So for example, I can tell you in the current student wellness policy, physical activity and physical education are blended together into one section. Under the new requirements, we have to split those out into two different sections. So you'll see a lot of redlining, but when you really get into it, you'll see that a lot of the language is consistent. There's not an enormous amount of changes. But as Dr. Miller indicated, we do need a school board member to be an official part of our food service advisory and wellness committee. One of the items that we discussed at the last meeting that we had, and we have an AM session, a PM session, so don't feel obligated that you have to go to both. We met with different parents during the day. We had obviously a little bit more turnout from some of the teachers and such. But we were able to discuss everything from elementary vegetarian options to how the menus are planned, how often do we review the food service management agreement, all different types of things like that. Ms. Bucknam, she went over some of the information that she shared at the last operational services meeting of the menu and product changes that we have this year, some of the things that we're looking at for next year. And she was also able to review, I believe it's the School Cafe app that will be coming out soon. At the meeting that we have coming up, the next meeting that we have coming up, a strong focus will be on some of the wording changes to the student wellness policy, but we're also going to continue to talk about, the daily meal and the RAM meal for next year, a lot of the different components, as well as our food service open house that we will be having here in the spring as well.
I'd like to be on this committee.
Okay, fantastic. I'll send you an invitation. Please don't feel like it's limited to just one board member, so if others have interest, just let me know. I'll send you the Google invitations for all of them, both the AM and the PM. Just respond to whichever ones you can attend.
Yeah, I'm interested as well.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrific.
Sampling and tasting generally part of the
Well, actually, you know what?
That would be for the open house.
Yeah, that's no, but there's a segue here. So this morning, by coincidence, Ms. Hathorn sent out a message to the community. We've talked a lot about food services in the last probably 18 months, 2 years. And so there was an invitation sent in today's e-blast about sampling new menu options, Mr. Stegman. Take advantage of that opportunity. So please, if for those parents, if you can please get the word out to them.
Thank you guys for volunteering. It was going to be awkward when Mr. Kashani got that email from Ms. Bucknam about their first meeting, so.
He could be on it too.
Well, I don't think it's I think as many people who want to be on it can be on it, because it's it's a simple but complicated task.
I'm actually excited about both. I'm very interested in the wellness, the gym and the health and all that as well too. So, yeah.
With respect to the policy, I'll try to keep this high level, and thanks for clarifying, because it took me a while to realize that that wasn't all new.
Yes.
Which is good. Is there anything in there that's not strictly necessary? Because there's a lot of stuff in there that I don't think is necessary.
I will tell you that I participated in a webcast, and so did Ms. Bucknam, with PDE, and a lot of the language is being required by federal law. So essentially what they're doing is the federal law is being passed on to the state, and then the state is obviously then passing that on to us. The difficulty is that, especially with the student wellness, because there's so many logistical changes that you see in the red line and the green additional language, we are supposed to have that approved revised policy passed by June 30th. And again, we turned it around as fast as we got it on the same day from PSBA. But a big reason why it was kind of held up at PSBA was not to include things that weren't absolutely necessary. There are some areas that you will see in there where you will see kind of the brackets, and you'll see what the options are. You'll see what we chose, and then anything that's in green with the brackets that you'll see has been, with the strike through. Those are the areas that we were able to define as being not absolutely necessary. There is another part. One of the things that you'll notice in there is it talks about fundraiser exemptions. We've not found a large group yet that has any information on fundraiser exemptions. Some local school districts that I contacted had no idea that that was even part of this new policy because they hadn't opened it yet from PSBA. One school district did just get back to me today indicating that Their way of approaching it in the administrative regulation is to essentially say that they are not providing fundraiser exemptions. So there's a whole paragraph in there that talks about the number of fundraisers that you can provide at different buildings that could conflict with the wellness policy. Their way of handling it is leaving the policy language in there, but then changing it in the administrative regulation to actually pull those out so that the building principals are not trying to manage those fundraisers. So that's an option to us as well. But that's something that we can discuss after. Those administrative regulations do not have to be prepared by June 30th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion or questions for Ms. Kirk? Thank you, Ms. Johnston. Operational Services, Mr. Lyons.
Item 8.01 is a motion to approve a renewal agreement with Sodexo with a guaranteed return of $20,000 for the fiscal year 17-18.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to thank Diane for all of her hard work and effort she's been putting in to try to accommodate our requests. She deserves this.
Got some great feedback at Eden Hall, but thank you for letting me know. Something to ask my son about, and he actually had an answer.
Did he like it? Buffalo chicken
Buffalo
pizza.
chicken pizza went down big.
And really, the samples are a good selling point, I have to say. Mr. Stegman is right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 8.02 is a motion to approve a lease agreement with Advanced Machine Systems Technologies, Inc. for a postage meter for centralized mail. Term of the agreement, 63 months at a cost of $219 per month for the first 12 and $307.96 per month for the remaining 51 months.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 8.03 is a motion to award the bid for liquid propane gas to Feral Gas LP at a price of 93.6 cents per gallon in 17-18 and 94.6 cents per gallon in 18-19.
.936, right?
That's $0.946 or 94.6 cents.
Right, okay. Making sure we clarify that. We have a second?
Second.
The item hasn't moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Lyons. Item 9.01 is a certification of 2017 PSBA voting delegates. We're looking to take volunteers or vote on anybody in April.
Already have.
Last year was.
They are renewed.
We have a designated liaison or representative, but voting reps are a separate motion because we require an annual motion on that, right?
Correct.
I would like to do it again. I think I will go to the conference again. I enjoyed it and found it worth my time.
Ms. Dawson?
Yes, I'll go again.
So for board consideration, everybody's okay with it. We will have Mr. Lyons and Ms. Dawson's name penciled in.
Okay.
But anyone can go to the conference.
Computerized.
Yeah, it does
in.
not, right.
Anybody that doesn't have to work during the week who can go. Okay, item 10.01, reports.
Just like to offer a welcome to Dr. Silbaugh. This is her first board meeting as the Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education and Curriculum. She began last Monday, and so certainly we welcome her. And just wanted to see if there was anything you'd like to share tonight after your first week.
sure I'm very appreciative of the chance to be here. I'm happy to be back home here as a RAM. In the first week, I was able to meet with the elementary administration as well as the district administration to kind of get up to date on the programs and the curriculum reviews that are underway. This week and next week, I will be spending time in each building, a full day in each primary this week, and then Eden Hall 2 days next week, to really get a sense of what the culture and climate of the building is, to take the curriculum information that I gained this last week and really understand what that looks like in an instructional way. So I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to be here, and I hope to serve in a great way.
Welcome.
I've already gotten great feedback from some staff members.
Buffalo chicken pizza and great feedback.
I know, everyone's happy this
We're
week.
cooking.
I know, good feedback this week. Liked it.
Any additional reports?
I have one item to mention, and I think Ms. Williams already forwarded the board the information. I believe included a flyer invite in your packet. The AIU board member convention and their Champions of Wellness celebration, which is what the sort of featured theme they're doing this year, is going to take place Wednesday, March 29th. A few of you came down last year and supported my candidacy, and I appreciate it. It's not something that we are usually overly involved in with the AIU or the convention, but I wanted to mention, especially this year, especially for those who went last year, is that this is a revised and somewhat streamlined format. The board and the AIU are still struggling with the ideal format for elections and having a convention. There is a desire to increase participation, but a hesitance to divorce the election process from physical attendance. So this does still require physical attendance to cast a vote, as it has in years past, but does not include a sort of full sit-down dinner, dog and pony show, if you will. I am not up for re-election. Obviously, you guys are stuck with me, so I'm not here to ask for your support, but to let you know it's there. I'll be going, and it is a streamlined format from previous years. It's a struggle to balance the wanting to get people together in order to have that networking, but balancing it with not everybody can make that trip or give those hours. It can be a long day, an evening.
Thank you, Mr. Lyons. Any additional reports?
Just some information from the Parks and Rec meetings. One of the big things with the Parks and Rec, and it's now some of it's going to the supervisors, but they're very interested. One of our main topics we talk about every time is connectivity of walking trails throughout the communities. And Peter, you probably have some input on this as well. But the new development that's going to go across the way is going to have part of that, and there's going to be some cooperation with some other communities.
Yeah, they actually connect to Treesdale on that side, believe it or not. So Treesdale comes all the way over those open spaces before it gets to Barnabas, yeah.
So those of you in Pine Township, when you go to the supervisor meetings, they're going to be making some decisions on some of those things, in particular with maybe some places that aren't cooperating so much. So it might be something that you might be interested in as well.
What kind of connectivity are you speaking of?
Walking trails. They're trying to
So physically walking, not tying everything Wi-Fi.
No, walking trails.
Oh.
Sorry. So yeah.
Well, we have to have connectivity on the trails.
Yeah, well, Sean's going to be laying lines underneath and getting louder every 100.
Never occurred to me there should be trail connectivity.
Sounds like
it's brilliant.
No, it's not.
People walk into each other doing this.
This is old school
Good.
connectivity.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not for a walk anymore.
IRL. Thanks, Greg.
Any additional reports? It's time for our second recognition of visitors. If anyone wishes to approach the board, please do so.
Hi, Dan Kerr, Blossom Drive, Gibsonian. Just with all the different projects going on, I'm curious if the middle school is going to possibly look at accommodating, have more bathrooms for the handicap, because we've heard of an issue all along that this past year about at least one student who had one bathroom they could use in the entire school. That's a sin. So I think whether that student's going to be moving up to the high school or not, I think that should be something that should be on the docket, and then in the high school, make sure there are enough bathrooms. I know at least one or more of the single stalls are for accommodating a handicapped person in a wheelchair, but sometimes that's taken out of service to make it just available for anybody to use. So it would be nice to see that that gets addressed instead of necessarily another paving project or something. And I'd be curious about this new development, if there's going to be sidewalks. I know you're talking walking trails, but are there going to be sidewalks pretty much from there down to Treesdale or anything like that planned? It'd be nice to see, I suppose. Not that I live down that way, but it still would be nice, I think, to have it where someone could literally walk along one side of the road all the way down to the developments. So just a couple of thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kerr. Anyone else wish to approach the board? Have a motion to adjourn? Adjourn.